Guys, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to my recap of season 1, episode 4 of Love Is. So let's just get right into it again because I don't know about you guys, but I've literally been chomping at the bit since last week when Yasir closed the door on us. And yes, I did say us because I felt like when he closed the door, in Nuri's face that he closed the door in my face too. I was just devastated. So I've really been like ready to get to this episode and to see how it's all gonna pan out. So let's get into it. So the episode begins and you see Nuri in bed with Yasir. And so I don't know about you guys, but initially I was like, oh, they already made up. Then of course we see that it's a dream. And then we go over to Yasir and he's having the same dream. So I thought that was kind of a cool way to start the episode because you see them together, even though the way we ended last week, it's like no way are they gonna be together. So that was kind of a cool thing. So then of course Yasir gets up and he hears Ruby on the phone. Ruby's on the phone talking to her parents. And basically, of course, she's talking to her parents as if her and Yasir are still together, still a couple. And actually, when he walks in the room, Ruby gives the phone to him to talk to her mom. So he talks to her mom for a little bit, and then Ruby gets the phone back, ends the conversation, and basically she looks at him and says, so it looks like we'll be having dinner with my parents in 6 weeks. So they head into the kitchen, and of course, because he's still taking care of Ruby, because Ruby's still recovering from her liposuction. And he fixes her breakfast. And at first, they're just having like a little, fun conversation, kind of joking with each other. And then Yasir makes a comment to Ruby that if you basically if you keep on, I'm going to tell your mom. And she's like, well, if you tell my mom, I'll tell my dad that you left me in LA for another woman. Crickets. Silence. He pretty much has nothing to say at that point. So then, of course, he's sitting there and kind of wanting to, I guess, maybe try to explain kind of how they got to that point. And then Ruby basically is like, just go ahead and say it. And at this point is where we finally kind of get to know a little more about their relationship, their history. And if you guys have been watching all of my videos, I've consistently said that I want to know a little more about their history, about their relationship. And so in that, Ruby is basically saying, letting us know that Yasir is really the reason that she's in LA. He gave her the money, he helped her pack, and he also and he also helped convince her parents that moving to LA was okay. So we get first, I'd like to understand that we know now that at least Yasir wasn't always broke. So that's kind of a good thing. And then just to kind of see that, there is some history with them. So it gave us a little bit. I still need more about their relationship, but hey, I got something. So then if we go back over, we're at Nuri's house. Nuri is awakened by the doorbell. And of course, she is thinking that it's Yasir because it goes back to, older adult Nuri. And she's like, she just knew that was him at the door and she forgot all about being mad at him. Well, of course, when she gets up and goes to the door, she realizes that it's Keith, not him. So she's kind of like, ugh, because of course she wants to see Yasir. I mean, she loves him regardless, even though he closed the door in our face. She still loves him. So, of course, Keith's coming over because you remember they're supposed to be going on that ski trip. And so Nuri's kind of sitting there trying to get out of it, trying to like think of something to say to get out of the ski trip. And she's literally saved by the bell. Her phone rings and it's my boo, Norman, Kadeem Hardison, or Dwayne Wayne, as we most know him by, asking her to come in to work. So she gets saved and she thinks she's out of the trip. But of course, Keith's like, no, I can wait, and he's like, plus we weren't going to be doing a lot of skiing anyway. So Keith leaves in hopes that he's going to see her later. Nuri gets dressed and gets ready to go to work. As Nuri is pulling out of her driveway, we see Yasir running down the street trying to catch her. Of course, he didn't catch her. So was I the only one that was trying to figure out like how far did he run? Because my guess is that Ruby and Nuri don't live that close together. So it's like, how far did he run to catch her? And then he didn't. Anyway, that's me on a tangent. Well, of course, you know who's outside? Our girl, nosy neighbor Pearlie. And she sees him and she's like, well, nobody's ever ran like that for me. And he, they're kind of chatting, and she's helping him get some of his mail, and she tells him, that she tried to get the people not to tow his car, but of course they did. So then Yasir goes to the place that towed his car, and of course tries to work a deal to get his car. They tell him like this crazy amount of money, like $400 something, and of course he doesn't have it. But they tell him that he can get some things out of the car, because one of the things in the car was Nuri's phone number, or so he thought. Of course he gets to the car, and I think he can't find it. And I don't know about y'all, but if you remember before, he had lost her number. And I'm like, dude, you already was without her number one time. Why wouldn't you put her number somewhere where you would not lose it again? So here he is again without her number. And of course, he's messed up big time. So fast forward a little bit, he's over Sean's house. Sean is his best friend. And of course he's looking all sad, and Sean is doing some crazy workout that doesn't even make sense. Whatever. And, they're just kind of chatting. And so they end up going to this cafe that Sean had said that Nuri used to come to like every day with her scripts. And so I don't know how many hours they had been sitting there waiting on her to come, but of course she never shows up. And Yasir makes a comment to Sean like, you said she always comes here. And Sean's like, well, that was before she had a job. Like, now she has a real job, so she may not be coming here as often. So then Sean is like, we gotta go because he has to poop and he doesn't want to poop in public. And so Yasir is like, well, can you, stop by Nuri's house? If she's there, I'll get out. If not, then I can at least, leave her a note. So they go to Nuri's house, and of course she's not there. And so he leaves a note in her mailbox. And as he's getting ready to leave, he looks up and sees Sean, and Sean's like trying to get in the house. And Sean's like, I told you I had to go to the bathroom. And so they literally like find an open door, and Sean goes in and is like pooping in her house, which I think it's kind of gross, but whatever. But as he's handling his business, Yasir's kind of walking around the house, and you kind of see him. He kind of has this like smile on his face, and I think he's kind of reminiscent of the time that they spent there, because he goes into the room, if you remember, where they were like pulling the wallpaper down the morning after they had spent the night together for the first time. So they're kind of doing that, and then they leave. Now we go back, and Nuri's of course at work with Norman and Angela, and they're sitting there with some guy, and I guess, I don't know, he's some big producer, director or something. And they're having a meeting. The guy, who is a white guy, gets up and touches Angela's hair and is like, oh my God, your hair is so gorgeous. And of course it's like everybody's freezing, like he did not do that. And I don't know about y'all, but especially for my black women, have you ever had somebody to do that? That is like the worst thing, especially if it's somebody who's like your boss. Small tangent, I actually had that happen to me at my previous job. Of course, when I started, I had my hair just straight, and then I ended up getting crochets, crochets or, the big curly hair, whatever. So I come in, and my boss like, what did you do to your hair? And I explained to her that it's braids. And she's like, oh, and she literally comes to my head and picks up my hair. And I'm telling you, my face looked just like Angela's face, because it's like, you want to say something, but you can't because it's your boss. So you're just kind of sitting there looking. So yeah, I didn't say anything, but please believe I wanted to. But again, I got a mortgage, so I didn't have a choice. I couldn't say anything. But after that, the guy leaves, and so they kind of have a little joke, whatever, because Norman just like thanks Angela for not like killing dude, because clearly she could have, because he picked her hair up. So anyway, fast forward, we go back. So now Sean and Yasir are at his house, and we finally meet Sean's girlfriend. And if you've been paying any attention, Sean is pretty much like a dog. Like every episode, he's in the doghouse again because he's done something. And so the girlfriend comes out, and she's cooking dinner. And so then she goes back in the kitchen to finish cooking dinner, and Sean and Yasir are having this conversation. And Yasir is kind of trying to explain to Sean, man, we need to grow up, and we're doing this, we're doing that. And even though I think for the most part Sean is a good friend, Sean was very harsh with Yasir, and I don't know if the harshness came from because he's looking at Yasir like, dude, basically you aren't doing anything, and here I am, I'm doing something. Because to him, he's doing something. He, even though he's not a great guy, he feels like he's there. He's with his woman. He's taking care of his baby. So he thinks he's great. So they have like this awkward exchange or whatever, which, I mean, they're dudes. So dudes are going to stay friends or stay cool. Anyway, so if we fast forward up to the episode where the Norman and Angela and Nuri are still sitting in the office trying to come up with show ideas, and Keith pops up. And Keith comes in with coffee and treats or whatever. And of course, Nuri is looking like, oh my gosh, because, she doesn't want to go on this skiing trip. And so after he passes the coffee out, Norman asks him, can they talk for a second? So when they go out of the room, Angela's like, so he's a good dude and you liked him last week. So like, what are you going to do? So of course, Nuri gets up and gets out the room and kind of chats with him, and then she goes in the bathroom, and she's literally in the bathroom, like trying to hype herself up, like, you're going on the ski trip, like really trying to get herself excited to go. And I don't know about y'all, but have you ever tried to like hype yourself up to do something? So I knew exactly what she was doing and totally understood what she was doing. And so then we go and we see that Nasir has now gotten back to Ruby's house, and he walks in. And he tells Ruby, basically that once my unemployment check comes in, I'm going back home. And she's like, going back home, like, no, that's crazy. And then she's like, you can stay here, you can have a fresh start, you can stay here. And he asks her, does she think that he's using her? And of course she's like, just take it, just, you can stay here, you can stay on the couch for 6 more weeks. Cause she's like, I'm still gonna need some help, whatever. And she's like, and plus, you leave. And she was like, my parents will worry about me. She's like, and I definitely don't want my parents to come here. So just take this as a fresh start. And so he just kind of sits there and it's like, okay, a fresh start. And so they get up that morning, and the older Yasir makes a comment and says, there's a thin line between like love and using people. And he's saying that most of us, or all of us, use people in some kind of way. And he's like, you use God, use your parents or whatever. And I thought that was really interesting, because I would like to think that I don't use my parents. But when he said it, I was like, that kind of, it kind of got me to thinking. And what do you guys think? Do you think that that's something that we do? I can kind of see maybe like on the God part, because, we'll do something and mess up in life, and then, we'll go to God and ask for forgiveness and everything. So I kind of get it, but then I'm like, I don't want to think that I'm the type of person that uses anybody. So anyway, Yasir goes to Ruby and basically says that he's getting ready to leave and he'd be back in a little bit. And he turns to walk out of the room, and it's like he's kind of having this moment, because he knows that, she's trying to act strong, and she's like, yeah, we're just going to be friends. But he knows that she still loves him, and she's very hurt that he has chosen to be with someone else. So he kind of like goes in there and kind of jokingly and says, I know you got to go to the bathroom. Let's get up, get you to the bathroom. We'll walk around a little bit, and then I'll head out. So he does everything with her and helps her. And then he goes to Nuri's house, and I'm like, finally, we are going to get answers. So, of course, Nuri is like fully dressed and her bags are packed, because she's getting ready to go on the ski weekend with Keith. So she looks and she sees him, and she opens the door and kind of rushes him in the door. And basically, Yasir gives answers. He explains to her, what his name was, who he was when he became Muslim, that he's been married and divorced, and that he has a son. And then he even goes on to say that, you asked me, was I using you? And he was like, yes, I'm using you for you to make me a better person. And y'all, I was like, oh, like I kind of stopped being mad at him for a minute, because I was like, that's nice. Like, yeah, he did close the door in our face, but like I really was feeling something for him. And you could tell like Nuri was kind of feeling it too. Well, at this point, when you can tell like they're getting ready to have a moment, of course, Keith shows up. He knocks on the door. And so Yasir is looking, like, who's that? Then he looks and he actually sees the bags and realizes that she's getting ready to go on the trip. And he gets mad. Like, not little mad, not medium mad. He gets big mad. And I'm like, are you really, really, really getting mad when you have closed the door on this woman that you so-called love? I mean, he was like livid, and, was trying to ask her, like, why are you even going or whatever. And Nuri makes a valid point. She was like, I couldn't put my life on hold. Like, she's like, we've only known each other for 3 days and you've been gone too. And she's like, for all I know, you had gotten back with your roommate, ex-girlfriend, or whatever. So, but he's like really mad, and he just opens the door. He introduces himself to Keith, and it's like, you guys have I know you guys got to go. You guys have a great ski weekend. And he's like walking out, and she kind of calls his name, and he looks, because I mean, he's mad, and he just, walks off or whatever. And again, they continue to leave us with these cliffhangers of sorts, because that's the end of the episode. He walks out, he's mad, and she's kind of sitting there with Keith, who she doesn't even really like. So again, I'm dying again to see, the next episode, to see like what's gonna happen. How's this ski trip gonna work? What is she gonna say about him getting so mad because he was wrong? Like, there's all these questions that I have answers for, which also lets us know that clearly this is a great show, because I'm dying to see it every week. They leave me every week wanting more. But that's the end of the recap. So I just want to say again, thank you guys so much for continuing to watch these videos. If some of you are new to it, thank you for joining me and watching, and for those who have stuck with me, thank you. As I said before, I really started doing these videos because I wanted to do something in addition to my blog and like social media posts, because sometimes with the blog, social media posts, you don't really get to see my personality. So doing videos is a way for me to show that. And if you are super new here and you don't even know that I have a blog, actually this what's in the video, which is you'll see it on there, www.crownkanisha.com, is my actual blog. So definitely check it out if you haven't. There's a new post up this week, and I post weekly on there. But again, thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to chat with you guys next week, because this story just keeps getting better and better. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day or night, whatever time it is that you're watching this, and I'll see you guys next week.